All right. Welcome, everybody, to this mini podcast where we're discussing the NAR settlement, answering questions about what agents should be thinking, what they should be planning for, and trying to help you have some peace of mind that things are going to be okay, that we're going to be able to move forward and go. So today I've got Tristan on with us. Tristan, how are you?
Howdy, how are you?
I'm so good. I'm excited. You know, I love change.
Me
and
too.
I love when things get mixed up. I love when things are primed for a technological disruption, and I love to be able to point back to, hey, when there's highly emotional situations, people want human intervention, and
So
that's a
true.
real estate transaction. No matter what's changing around with regulations or laws or contracts, you know, people want an expert to guide them through their emotional experience.
This is why politicians are still around, by the way. Everything's so complicated. They need people.
That's right. That's right. Well, first, let me just get you. You know, what's your initial take? You know, you are everywhere. You're listening to massive amounts of groups of agents in all of your different platforms and forums.
Yeah,
What you know?
this is
What's your take, and what are people feeling? And maybe my real question is, why are people freaking out?
well, number one answer to that is remember, you and I were there for COVID together. We kind of helped everybody out of it as far as real estate. But anytime there's uncertainty, uh, there's a big challenge for people because they need clarity as to how things should work. And unfortunately, the biggest opportunities we always see, same with you, is anytime there's uncertainty, massive uncertainty, that's where the biggest opportunity is. And we're seeing it right now because nobody knows and people are uncomfortable when nobody knows. And that's where you and I are like, oh, I'm really comfortable here. I know exactly what to do, which is it's all about relationships, right?
Yeah,
That's all it comes down to. Prospect or die, which is a hat you gave me, which
that's
is a
right.
really good one, by the way. So here's how it went down. I get a text a minute after the email went out to everyone from NAR, and they said, "Did you read the email that just went out?" I'm like, "What email?" So I look at my email. A minute has gone by, and I'm like, "Oh, that's crazy." So I read it, found the 108-page document, started reading that, multiple text emails from leadership coming through. And I'm like, oh, okay, I think I got this. I think I got this. And then I did that video on YouTube, and that one blew up. And then New York Times got a hold of it because I was the first one to report on it.
Right.
And then multiple New York Times editors reaching out and saying, hey, can you explain this to us? And I'm like, sure. And they're like, by the way, can you connect us to? And then I started connecting them to everyone. And then that just opened up the floodgates to more questions and then panic. So in the group, you get to see both sides of everything. In
Yeah.
the 165 agent size group, you get to see people freaking out saying it's over, and you also get to see people saying, "Oh, nothing's changed." I'm with the people that say nothing changed or nothing has changed only because, obviously things change, right?
Right.
Not stupid.
Yeah.
The thing that we're trying to say when we're saying nothing's changed is saying, what did you expect? Things are always changing. It
Right.
goes back to you. What are you going to continually do to stay in front of the people you want to attract and connect with?
Yeah.
Nothing's changed, man. This is business as usual. I need to go out and connect with people and talk to people and create relationships. It falls on me more than ever before. And that's why nothing has changed.
Yeah. I think at the highest level, you know, there's it's so funny. There's so much fear around what's going on and doing this. And what I see some of that fear is that people, maybe this is going to be controversial. Maybe, you know, I'm going to go viral for being a jerk here. I think a lot of agents got lazy over the last, you know, decade. I mean, if you
Well,
look at the whole
look what
decade, it's been
we've done.
tough. Yeah, it's
The-
been tough a little bit, you know, the last year, but if you look at a decade, a lot of people got lazy, or they got or they got they had bigger budgets. Like We've been
Yeah.
around a long time. I've been, almost 20 years in this industry, and people didn't come into the business with budgets to go buy leads 20 years ago. They came into the
Oh,
business and grinded with their friends and family until they built a sphere of influence, and they grinded with expireds, and they grinded with for sale by owners and knocking doors and setting out flyers and sponsoring chamber of commerce meetings. And they did things to network. And over the last 10 years, you see this transition where people are like, okay, I just got my license. Where do I buy my leads? And now everybody's freaking out because nobody knows how to hunt anymore. Nobody knows how to go out and connect anymore because they've
oh.
relied so heavily on this paid lead generation.
Yeah, and on the paid lead generation side too, you look at what's happening. The two major changes are no commission, no commission announcement or wording of commission on the MLS. Easy, number one. And number two is everyone has to have a buyer broker agreement when before we
Yeah,
show property.
yeah.
So the second one, if
Which
we're
which there is people should have been doing anyway.
yeah,
Like
but in reality,
no, I know. Yeah,
So here's where the second one, though, affects the lead generation companies. And we all know, we've seen the numbers where they're selling us more online leads than sales are happening, right?
oh, to the extent of 1,000 times. I mean, that was the stat from last year. 4 billion leads were sold, and there's only 4.1 million transactions.
And that right there, if you look at it, saying, hey, realtor.com, homes.com, Zillow, I don't care who it is. When the lead comes through to me online, and now you want to see a property, I'm not going to sign an agreement that says, well, just for this one property, I'm going to sign this agreement. It's more like I'm going to blanket it. Here's my value. This is what you're going to pay me. Or if I go the other route, which this is the uncertain part, like flat fee, or I'm going to go after the commission on the seller side, I'm going to request it. I don't know what that looks like for
Yeah.
people. Whatever that looks like, I have an agreement. And now Zillow, Realtor.com, Homes.com can't go and sell that lead again because now as soon as it comes back, they've got a contract with me.
Right.
And
Yeah.
now
If you
what?
sign the buyer's agency agreement, you have an agreement. Yeah. And therein lies the opportunity for people who are going, oh, you know, I'm not going to stop working with buyers.
No.
I'm gonna go. I'm just gonna be smarter and but marketing is my background. I would say more than a real estate agent, Tristan, you're a marketer, right? You're and a connector and a relationship person. So this maybe that's why it feels like what is everybody so worked up about? Like
Yeah.
I can outmarket somebody because I can articulate the value that I can bring, which means that I'm not afraid of a buyer's agency agreement.
Yeah.
I
And
think people
also,
that go ahead.
I'm not going out for everybody. Like those
Yeah.
people that want a deal, that's awesome. I don't want them, right? I'm not going to go and help them.
Yeah.
That's not the audience I want.
Yeah.
So I think people also lose traction of that. It's like you as an agent, let's break it down. Who are you actually helping? Were you helping the bottom feeders in the first place? If you were, okay, let's talk,
Yeah.
right? What does
Yeah.
this look like for you?
Well,
But if you're not,
yeah, I think well, let's shift on that note a little bit about who you're helping. There what about all of the people that are saying, well, list to last? Now, like, do you agree with that? And where does that fall in with everybody's kind of the uncertainty? Is it better that they're like, you know what, I'm going to figure out how to do a buyer's agency agreement, or are you saying you should just do more listings?
I think both. I think it's still going to be a balance of both. What we're going to find is whatever happens in the next 6 months to a year, that's going to be the customary thing. Remember how the commission, whatever it was, became customary in each region? Like you could
Right.
go to different regions, they'll be like, oh, we normally charge here. Over here, we charge this, and this is what we do.
Yeah.
So we don't know what that looks like yet. And that's going to fall on the mega teams and agents that produce listings at a high level, because then I
Yeah.
can dictate what that looks like. So for
Right.
me, if I'm going out for listings, for me, I'm simply, and we've already, by the way, when this hit, dude, my sellers and people out of nowhere started reaching out to me and saying, "So what does this mean?" And if they were in contract, what can I do? If they had a listing, they're like, so I don't have to pay the buyer's agent? I'm like, oh shit, that happened fast.
Yeah.
And
Well, yeah, that was the news articles with all their clickbaity, no more commission. You don't have to pay commissions anymore. And I mean, the news article kind of messed that up.
yeah. And so now I'm having to talk to sellers, and their number one question is, well, Tristan, is it true we don't have to pay the buyer's agent? I'm like, yeah, it's true. I mean, but why would you want to do that?
Yeah.
And they're like, well, what do you mean? We want to save money. I'm like, well, let me explain it to you. I'll
Yeah.
give you some reasonings. And then this is what I've come up with just in the last few days, man, from lots of conversations. Number one is most of the buyers that come in for your home have an agent attached to it. And in the world that we live in the United States, the last time I checked, we're a capitalist country, right? We work off of commission and sales. This is what we were built on. If you want to attract as many buyers as possible, then we've got to incentivize as many buyers agents to come in with those buyers, because the reality is that some of the buyers that you're trying to attract, Mr. Seller, they don't have enough money to pay that buyer's agent commission.
Yeah.
Think about your situation, Mr. Seller. When you bought your first home, where was that commission? Oh, well, that's different. It was built in. I'm like, well, it's actually still the same, because people are still buying their first homes and jumping into this real estate market where it's barely affordable. So my suggestion, since you're asking me, is we offer and incentivize the buyer's agents to bring in their best buyers that are pre-qualified and pre-approved. Does that make sense to you? And they're like, oh yeah, that totally makes sense, Tristan.
Yeah. I see. To me, I'm a old school sell with emotion, but you close with logic. And I like data and things. So to me, just with what we do working with FISBOs, you can look at the newest NAR stat, uh, showed that the average FISBO home sold for $70,000 less than the average home represented by a real estate agent.
Good point.
And so when somebody's saying, "Oh, is it true I don't have to pay commission?" Well, you never had to. Well, I mean, look at all the for sale by owners, but let's look at the result of not creating incentive around the biggest buying pool that exists. Right? It's so would you rather create a small incentive to attract more buyers, or would you rather not get nearly as much money on the sale of your home? Right? And you can show that with the for sale by owner data. It's the same way you get for sale by owners to be okay paying a commission even on the list side.
Yeah.
Is now we can just look at real data and go, yeah, homes that don't pay a commission, let's look at that. And we'll see. It'll be interesting to see what happens, because you're seeing a lot of people are going, well, it's happened. I showed my first house and it's 0% commission to the buyer's agent. And well, we get 3 months down the road and more of that happens. You'll be able to pull up agents that do that and look at their list to sell ratio or their list price to sell ratio. And you'll start to be able to aggregate your own localized data to show people what they should do to maximize the sale of their home.
Yeah,
So
I agree. And I think some people are reacting like hiring a real estate agent and paying them was something that they had to do. It's like, no, wait, it's always been an option. You never had to hire a real estate
yeah,
agent, and you never had to pay one. You could do this on your own. It's like, what? Where did this come? Yes, if you hire us, we actually charge money.
yeah,
Surprise.
yeah,
That to me is the biggest baffling part. Like, wait a second. Did we become so entitled as a people in the
right,
US that we're forgetting that we pay real estate agents and it's an option? Because you can
yeah,
go sell this on your own. Good luck.
right. I do think a benefit is one of the benefits of the consumer seeing all of these, like, questioning commissions, questioning, the value of a real estate agent. It's not. I hope it's not news to people that we were already not really we didn't have a great reputation amongst
We don't.
consumers anyway.
Yeah.
And I heard at the last conference, it was like, real estate agents a lot like Congress. They like their person, but as a as a group, they just don't like it at all. And it was like, I like my real estate agent, but all real estate agents are kind of, these sleazy, getting more money than they deserve kind of thing.
Totally.
And I think now that more and more consumers are going to ask the question, it really does give us an opportunity to articulate the value. I really, I've said that a couple of times, but marketing really is your
Mm,
ability to articulate the value and benefit of the product or service. And if you can do that, people will always pay for the value. And the reason why they won't pay it is they don't see the value. So now we have this opportunity to step in and go, let me show you the value. And
that's true.
even now though, I got in a conversation with somebody not in our industry, but he knew I was in real estate and said, well, what do you think about it? It's about time. And he's kind of on that bandwagon.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
I said, a good real estate agent is worth their weight in gold. And I can show you that with real data. I can show you, we even do data science on expired listings,
Mhm.
and we can show you your listing's more likely to expire if you have bad photography. Well, guess who doesn't do bad photography? Good agents.
Yeah.
Like, because that's part of what they do. They know that they need to really market the property to get the most amount of money for it.
Well, I mean, look, it's the whole saying. It's like you can save money by going the inexpensive route with the everyday agent, but you're going to lose money long term with them, right? And that I think that becomes the key, and that falls on us to show them the value that you're talking about. It's like,
Yeah.
look, this is what it looks like to hire someone right now and look for immediate gratification. And this is what it looks like long term when you bring me to the picture, right?
Yeah.
And that really is where agents are probably feeling the most discomfort because it's going to become a little harder
Yeah.
to get people to work with you.
Yeah, but this makes us step up as a industry, as a profession, and it's time we level up. It's time we level up, and this provides a great opportunity. One last thing before we wrap it up here, Tristan. I just, it's interesting, and with the little self promotion here, we our Facebook group of about 6,000 active prospecting agents.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there's not a lot of rhetoric about what's going on right now because they're out there getting listings, and they're not as worried about their future. They're not as worried. So I would add that, nothing's changed, because there's always change. You got to figure out how to do your business. You got to figure out how to articulate value. And there's also an opportunity here that if you aren't working listings, you should add that to your, you should diversify the income in your business by working the list side and the buy side. And I think that's going to help people also be able to better articulate on the buy side, because now they're going to help sellers on that side of the transaction. I think it's going to help them know how to talk to a buyer.
I
So
think that's why doing the old prospecting thing, right? The old prospecting thing, which is talking to people. um, Put yourself in enough situations where you're talking about selling, listing, buying, all those things with the client, with the consumer. And then if you do it enough times, you find out what's actually working and how to talk to people and demonstrate the value. And it becomes easier and easier and easier over time, man. It's
yeah,
like those people that are prospecting right now, making the calls, picking up the phones, they're finding that it's still, this is why I said it's like, oh, it's the same thing. We're nothing changed, right?
no,
And nothing's going to continue to change,
no,
man. It just we're always going to rise to the top.
yeah,
So just keep on working.
awesome. All right, guys, thanks for tuning in. If you have any questions, Tristan is available on just about anywhere on Facebook. So if you don't know how to get a hold of him, then you're living under a rock. You can always join our prospecting Facebook group, or chat in this podcast here. Otherwise, good luck and good prospecting.